favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. One abstention. Okay, next is the public hearing. Okay, that was actually, July 8th was the public hearing, right?
Right. July 2nd was the regular meeting.
Right. I said that wrong. I meant to say public hearing.
July 8th was the public hearing.
Okay, July 8th public hearing. And you were out of town for those two,
Correct.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve.
I'm sorry, are we on the 8th or the 16th?
The 8th. The 8th. This one. Is this the one we just did? Do we have a... The 8th was that a...
That was your first public hearing.
That was the first public hearing.
Okay.
There was no other... Okay. My mistake. That was the one we just did. All right. Then we are on to July 16th public hearing. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, were you here? You were here.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Are there any corrections or comments?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to start out by saying, first of all, similar to this meeting, I want to say to my fellow board members, I wish I could have recorded my telephone calls as a result of that meeting, because they knew I was there. And I guess after the minutes were published, I never received so many calls like that one. And the overall tenure of each particular call is just about what everybody's been saying here tonight. It's not representative of what was said. And I agree about the fact that, especially what Cynthia said, just on the final comment, there really should be sort of the tenure of what is really being said, because I think both meetings were, as I read the minutes of the earlier meeting, I guess they were very, very vocal meetings. And I went back to especially the July 16th meeting, and I started taking notes as I was obtaining these telephone calls. And to give you some thoughts about some of the things that were outstanding in my mind, there was a comment at that meeting that somebody said that Aquarion never returned to land. And it was a concern, and I really didn't see it in here, okay, with other municipalities. And then it was said that they can't return to land because they've got to ask Pura for permission, as I recall. And then I guess it was said that it may have to take a state legislator to approve this. And, you know, it's not in there. It's sort of important, I thought.
Well, it turned out to not be true, but go ahead.
Yeah, it may not be true, but it should be in there, okay? There was that comment that, I know the discussion, I was there, the debate, is our water as clean right now as Aquarion's? And obviously it is. And that was a big concern, and that wasn't clean. There was a comment, a question relative to our town engineer being a former employee, Aquarion being the contractor. I think the most important thing that I got, being an old chemist here, was the fact that when we had Lori, I believe her name was Matthews, right, the State Health Department, says Pura does not have a strategic plan to eliminate surface water. And, you know, as we read that proposal that we got from Aquarion, the thinking was that you'd have to eliminate reservoirs. And I know this was an outrage with the public about that. And there was things such as, where is it? About the fluoridation effect, because Aquarion admitted that they were going to attempt to connect Stony Hill eventually with downtown water. And as you increase that number, I guess there's a certain number that then it becomes fluoride becomes an issue. That was discussed, and you don't find it in there. So Matt and Richie, I'm saying to myself, should we approve these minutes, or should we just have them rewritten? I know it will take some time to reflect what was said at the meeting. Because, $7.2 million sale of the water company, we should take the public's inputs as far as this. And then lastly, I think there was one other thing that everybody was really upset about, especially I think Mr. Hillman brought this to my attention. He says, I guess Robert's rules weren't followed, and I guess Mr. Waller made an error, so he admitted so, but it wasn't in the minutes. This is, it's bothersome to me a little bit here because this is the tenure of that meeting, and as everybody said, here tonight especially, we have to, the minutes really should represent what is being spoken at the meeting. That's something to find on today's.
Catch up?
Yeah. So, I'm concerned. My concern is this a true reflection of what was said at the meeting? I understand that, when it comes down to Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, Planning and Zoning, these are summations. More so on the Planning and Zoning, it's sort of more of a legal document, but there was too much outrage for us to ignore this, and I don't want to minimize Wendy's impact in writing minutes here, but I realize that there's just been too much public input that's not being documented here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'd like to see perhaps table this and amend the minutes, or I don't know what we can do here, but I think it's got to be reflective of what was said. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I was also at the meeting.
Pardon me?
I was also at the meeting.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff that's gone over. I think the only way you could do that, Paul, is have people submit written comments to put in the minutes. Because no matter how you determine what one person says and another person writes. And I take offense that...
It's not personal.
Well, I take offense that the idea of massaging the minutes to sway one way or the other is totally false. That, the recording secretary has been doing this job for 30 years. There's never been a problem with the recording secretary. And unless we invite each individual who speaks to submit a written comment to be put in the record, I don't see how you can ever quantify or detail what everyone is saying in a public hearing like that, especially on a hot controversy.
Right. I understand that. But on the other hand, I'm looking at it just from the phone calls that I've received reading this. We're supposed to be documenting what has been said. There's been a little bit too much. You're right about one thing. You can't document everything, but you can do the summation of somewhat. But given this particular topic, it's such a hot topic right now. I think we're overlooking one thing here is what was really said a little bit.
Well, I would not support tabling the minutes. They've been presented, and I don't want to say opposition, but the other side has submitted paperwork that we have accepted into the minutes of this meeting that can reflect their views.
Okay. Let me address a couple of comments. First of all, thank you for that. I would not support changing minutes or tabling them either. As far as a public hearing goes, it has been Bethel's practice for many, many years, in fact decades, to distill the comments into a very short summation. This occurs, including answering questions, which occurs at virtually every single budget presentation every year, and many other types of public hearings as well. In this particular case, in both of the public hearings, I recall making a statement at the very beginning of each one that the boards had already voted to recommend the sale. Therefore, we have no more vote. Mm-hmm. So the purpose of these, we had to put a legal notice that says the public hearing is there to hear comments, but the real purpose was to answer questions, mm-hmm. to make sure that people had the information that they wanted. That was the purpose of having the public hearing, as well as the legal notices. But I think the town attorney's suggestion that in the future, perhaps we consider just listing who spoke, period, without trying to distill it, is, for future reference, might be the only solution, because by virtue of the fact that you have a person who's going to try to do a summation, it is going to be an imperfect record. It's not intended to be a historical record or a legal document. Think of it this way: the people who were okay with the proposal probably didn't come in to any public hearing and make any statement whatsoever. So whatever their feelings are not captured. So what I would prefer is that we, I think these are as good a summation of minutes as you can get. If people feel that they were not quoted accurately, they're welcome to submit it in writing, and we will have their correspondence at our next meeting, and then we'll move on from there. And then I think, for future reference, at least for public hearings, perhaps we should consider, at some point in the future, just recording names of people who spoke. Because when we looked at what other towns do, we noticed that that's a pattern, that they didn't try to summarize the comments the way we have always done for many years. So,
well, in that, not only with the names, you could put if they were for or against the proposal.
the examples we looked at from other towns didn't even have that. It had name, address, spoke on the topic of whatever it was, whatever the topic of the public hearing was, and they didn't record anything. So it's something we might want to consider in the future.
Like I said, a number of calls, and after reading it and after attending just that last meeting, and you're absolutely right. When it came down to the Public Utilities Commission, which we're all members of, the objective was to take it to the people.
Right. That was the objective all along.
So, you know my statement on this. I'm just going to stand by my statement here. And just vote.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the public hearing minutes of July 16th. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Nay.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that, and I'll reiterate that people are welcome to submit comments in writing, and we will be part of the public record.